Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria, where we are currently working on some input goods shortages. That's our highest priority right now. Our secondary priority is getting our finances up a little bit, because what we really need to do as well is drop our taxes back down. We're not quite to the point of being able to do that, but we're really close, actually. So that's looking good. In the meantime, of course, what is this industrial barriers? National supremacy pop support, huh? National supremacy might be an interesting thing to go for here. Sure, we'll go for that. We're also waiting on our infamy to drop down a little bit. That needs to drop down quite a lot. Lithuania now has a what is this called? A defensive pact. A defensive pact with Belarus. So that's absolutely fine. But I believe that Belarus is going to join Lithuania. And if they do, that's going to be a lot of infamy to get that all taken over. So that is definitely a little bit of a concern. We're going to continue these constructions for now. And we're going to need some additional bureaucracy as well. So I'm going to move up this government administration, and that's it for now. We're just going to tick forward like this. We're mostly just hard chilling at this point. We need to let our infamy drop before we do any more actions. That's for sure. Now, our turmoil up here in Sweden is quite high. Our turmoil has dropped in these areas that we conquered, but the turmoil in Sweden is really very high. Okay, we probably want to continue this incorporation, so dropping this turmoil would probably be an important thing. I wouldn't mind necessarily doing violent suppression, but that's not really going to, reduce the actual turmoil. That'll just reduce the effects of the turmoil. So for now, we'll do that. But we really want to get Sweden incorporated, and this turmoil will drop over time. So for now, that seems reasonably okay. I also really do want to get this government administration done, and to that end, we're going to do this. And you might ask, why do I want this government administration done so badly? The answer is we need a lot of bureaucracy if we want to start working up our institutions, which we absolutely do want to do. Law enforcement unfortunately grants the Gentry Assembly political strength, but we should be able to go back to dedicated police force. Yes, we should be able to go back to dedicated police force eventually. But we'll need an interest group in government, a political movement, or a ruler ideology to do that. For the time being, that is all reasonably fine. I'm not too concerned about getting a big law change done right now. We need to... What's the current opinion of the Gentry Assembly, actually? They're at +5? Okay, we might want to wait until this recent change goes away before we start trying to do a big change here. We'll see. We might need to make some trades with them, but for the time being, I think it's okay. We're at 178 right now for our bureaucracy, which is kind of remarkable because this government administration hasn't finished yet. That's 5 weeks away, and I would absolutely like to start working up our education institution. Now, that'll take 385 bureaucracy, so that'll definitely take some time. That's okay. How are we doing on paying off our debt? Well, we're down to 9.54k in interest, which sounds good. That's absolutely great. Of course, that's not our primary goal right now. Our primary goal isn't necessarily to pay down our debt, but it's to drop our taxes while still being positive financially. To that end, should we put in a consumption tax on porcelain? We can do that. Of course, that will make it a little bit harder to drop our taxes, because that will drop our consumption tax rate as well. But that's okay for now. Yeah, that seems absolutely fine. If I recall correctly, I looked in here and saw that in society, that banking was almost complete. And yes, that is spreading to us. That is about to finish. So minus loan interest rate plus minting, that seems absolutely phenomenal. We are very, very happy to see that. We are also finishing up this sulfur mine very soon. We did get a steel mill online. The question now is how long until railways, and the answer is 30 months. So railways are a long ways off still. We probably do want eventually to start working on getting some additional innovation cap. Yeah, that would be useful. No doubt about that. But I think the biggest thing to do right now is to just increase our literacy, which would mean getting this brought up, which means that we need a little bit more bureaucracy. There's banking unlocked. Fantastic. So plus 10% minting and minus 2% loan interest rate, bringing us up to 20k income. That seems really solid. We are going to get our debt paid off quite quickly at this rate. So that sounds great. Parma is supporting Italian unification. Good job, Parma. So that's all relatively fine. Our steel mills in Saratov are going to be done in 5 weeks, and our sulfur mines in 8. We're no longer seeing an input goods shortage for steel. That's good. And sulfur, we should no longer see an input goods shortage pretty soon as well. But we currently do have one. Hence why we're building this sulfur mine. So for the time being, that all looks relatively good. How are we looking over here in Sweden? Well, it could definitely use more, but the incorporation here has only 27 months to go. So that looks very, very good, as opposed to these incorporations down here that have like 12 and 13 years to go, respectively. Out of curiosity, how much infamy would it be to take Circassia? 2.9? That's not a lot. What about this? That would be 1.8. We're at 30.4 right now, losing about 0.1 per week. Okay. We might want to let that drop down until 25. I don't know. But look at this. We are currently about ready to drop taxes. Now, technically, I think that it's more efficient not to at this exact moment until we get a little further, because we're not going to be paying down our interest very much unless we give this a couple week ticks at this rate. And if we do, we're going to move much, much faster on that front. So I'm going to give that a little bit, and we're building just government administrations at this time. We are still running a sulfur shortage. Okay, where are our sulfur mines? They are out over here. Okay, so our sulfur mines, I'm wondering right now, how are we doing on getting population working in this? So we're 3.8k right now, and that is the entire population, or no, hang on, out over here, population. What do we have for unemployment? Insignificant amounts, but there are 163k peasants. So I think we just need to let that populate up for the moment. Clippers are currently considered expensive, so we might want to consider building a shipyard, and that would be... Actually, there is one queued in presumably the private constructions here. I think we just let that go for the time being. Building a couple of government administrations here is reasonably fine, although these are building in Moscow, and this is going to continue to reduce the market access in Moscow, which is not amazing. That's for sure. Faith knows no borders, huh? The Orthodox Church would be very happy about this. Our relations with Ukraine would improve. Or the intelligentsia would get approval. We are Russian first, Orthodox second. That's definitely how that works. Fantastic. So I'm definitely getting itchy about going to war. We've dropped down to infamous at this point. We're still at 29.6. We need to let that drop. I think it changes tiers at 25. That said, we could definitely start up something over here with just a return state. It's only 1.8 infamy. Do we want to go back above 30, though, is a question we need to ask. Maybe we let this drop until it's going to hit 30, and then we take this over. And then do the same thing for, like, Circassia over here. I want to get both of those under control, and I want to do that fairly quickly. Our trade route exporting iron to the American market is inactive. Okay, we can get rid of that. We can also get rid of any of these that are negative in revenue, which seems relatively fine. We're running a sulfur and an engine shortage at this point. I'm actually surprised to see an engine's input goods shortage. Noted. it might have something to do with our infrastructure in Moscow being a bit on the low side. So let's build one in Ingria here. And we may want to get another sulfur mine going in another location. Actually, we're better off building it in Transbaikal. Okay, that's fine. So we can definitely do that. This government administration will be done very, very shortly. Next week, in fact. So let's get that finished up. And then that should give us enough to start working our way up here. We're at 348. Well, that might continue to come up as the building gets populated. So that'll be fine. I'm thinking strongly about dropping our taxes here. But once again, that's going to significantly reduce the amount of pay down of our debt. So I don't think that that's really the right time. Out of curiosity, in Moscow, what do we have going on in our motor industry? Only 320 people working here. Steel is expensive. Honestly, I don't know that we have enough to justify, like, enough demand to justify building another motor industry. I'm going to move that down. I put it at the bottom. I guess we can move up this logging camp in Latvia. I put this at the bottom for now so that we don't lose the progress on it. We're going to want it eventually, but I think that now is not the time for that. So that's okay for the moment. Our trade routes are requiring... Oh, to the Austrian market. Okay. Well, if the price is that high, in theory, we should be expanding our workforce here. So we're at 317 employees right now. Cash reserves are going up. We're only producing 2 engines right now. 262? Okay. Well, I think our biggest problem here is the price of steel, which I'm surprised that's not showing up as expensive. Huh. Remarkable. I do think that we need a steel mill, and I'm going to build that in Saratov. Cool. So that looks reasonably good for right now. We are still working on paying down that debt. And for the moment, I'm completely comfortable with this. I would like to work up our education investment. We need 387 bureaucracy for that. We should have that the moment this government administration completes, which is in 2 weeks. So that all seems very good. We're no longer running a sulfur input goods shortage. I like it. And our government administration is going to finish up now. Okay, so that puts us up to 373. Now, I'm going to move the rest of these Moscow government administrations down, because we know that we don't actually want to build them in Moscow, right? And the reason we know that is because of the infrastructure here. The infrastructure is bad, and it's not getting better. We've already done a road maintenance decree in Moscow, and that's not going to improve anything. So right now, what we need is to get our hands on railways. 19 months on that. So that looks good. We are working on some of these other government administrations in other places, and that's absolutely fine. Any other issues that we have financially right now? Well, let's check quick on our market price. So currently coffee, we don't really have any coffee at all. Engines, of course. There's not a lot that we can do about engines at this point other than deal with the price of steel. We do see that coal and sulfur are quite expensive. So they must have changed how the expensive goods appear then. Noted. We definitely need more coal and more sulfur mines. There's no doubt about that. So let's get some sulfur mines in Transbaikal. Let's get 2 of those. And I want to get some additional coal mines going. Not in Moscow, for obvious reasons. I'm going to build 4 of these. And then we'll do something kind of like this, but I want to prioritize the steel mill. And I'm going to move this government administration up as well. And we'll just have it be something, actually, something kind of like this. There we go. That'll do. So we'll get those underway. That'll be fine for the moment. How are we doing on our debt? We're down to 3.61 million in debt and only paying 6K in interest now. That's looking very solid. Next up, I would very much like to get this education investment level going. We're only at 383 bureaucracy right now. I'd like to see that continue to rise. It is rising a little bit, but not very much, to be honest. At this point, let's check in on that infamy. 26.6. I think that we absolutely attack here now. So we just do a return state here, and we'll force the diplomatic play. They're not going to accept. And we're just going to send, honestly, like this army down there. Indeed. So it's interesting that there are these units here that do not have barracks. But I'm going to mobilize them, and we're going to send them on down. I'm not really expecting anyone to join this, considering they are completely surrounded by us. The sale of Alaska. Honestly, I don't want to sell Alaska. We don't want to do this. We have not successfully sold Alaska. Can we decline this? We can just unpin it from the outliner, because I know what kind of natural resources are in Alaska, and I don't want to sell it. So we're not going to do that. We're doing fine financially, to be honest. All we need to do is continue to conquer on this front over here, and we're in a pretty decent spot right now, to be honest. I think we just continue to move in over here, develop our economy. Belarus wants to join in exchange for owing them an obligation. We decline. We don't need your help, Belarus. Get out of here. We really don't need Belarus's help. How are things going up in Sweden? Down to 70% turmoil? Okay, that's looking good. We're down to 15 months on incorporation. That looks phenomenal. Belarus. No, we're not going to give you a subject to help us conquer this tiny little area. Get out of here. Wow. These guys, though. These guys. So, at this point, our infamy jumped up a tiny bit from this diplomatic play. That's fine. We expect that. But honestly, over the course of the diplomatic play, it's probably going to drop more. So that's good. We're going to go for Circassia as well, as soon as we can. Yeah, we absolutely are. Just as soon as we're done with this diplomatic play. So, this diplomatic play is progressing nicely. No one's actually going to join, which we expected. That might be a little different for Circassia. We'll see. We're still running that engine input goods shortage. Yeah, that's expected. So our war is broken out. Excellent. And we'll have no problem taking this over. We'll just designate our strategic objective here and get in there, guys. Fantastic. Honestly, we probably don't need to set our strategic objective to have them attack here, but whatever. Luca is supporting Italian unification. Okay, there's going to be more unification happening over here, presumably. That's reasonably fine for now. So, we're in a pretty decent spot to drop our taxes now, I would argue. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to drop down to medium taxes, which is going to significantly help our standard of living, I think. In some areas, anyway. So that'll be good, and we're still paying down our debt. That's the important part. We're still paying down the debt, although it's at a fairly low rate now. But that's okay. We absolutely love that. Do a promotion. Who is this guy? We would end up giving the Gentry Assembly another general. I decline. I don't want to give the Gentry Assembly any more power. They've got plenty of power as it is. So that is absolutely fine. We could consider changing a law, but honestly, I don't think we're in a position to do so right now. I wouldn't mind going to laissez-faire, but that's going to create huge problems if we did that. So that's not going to be a thing that we're going to do. Are we actually going to fight here? Maybe eventually. Our organization is very low here. We don't have a commander. That's why. So I don't want to recruit a general necessarily, but I guess we could recruit an armed forces general. Sure. So there's decent attrition here, but that does bring up our battalion command limit reasonably. So no problem there. In theory, we should start actually attacking now. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. So we're pushing right on in. Looks good. I probably should have checked that general earlier. No doubt about that. But we'll get this taken over. No problem. And next up will be Circassia. But these are so cheap that they should be net infamy negative. Honestly, Circassia is going to bring us up to like 27. Yeah, that's not bad. That is not bad at all. Our infamy is dropping nicely. Lithuania plus Belarus would be a lot of infamy. So that's definitely a concern. I don't think we're going to go super ham on that. We'll try to keep our infamy certainly below 50. Which means that we're not going to be able to take all that much of Belarus, but that's okay. Conquering Ukraine is going to be a little awkward for us as well. No doubt about that, because these are going to be very expensive. And we don't have claims on Ukraine. Actually, we do have claims on Kuban. So we could take Kuban. That would be relatively cheap, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So this war is basically over at this point. We have them fully occupied, and we're just going to press this peace deal. They're going to exit this war very, very soon. Their war support is already at -8. They're getting -15 due to exhaustion every week. So yeah, they're going to be done very soon. They're at -73 capitulation desire at this time. When is this going to tick? Right now? Okay, -58. Yeah, that'll be very swift. So that's looking good. We are making a decent amount. Basically, all of our positive money right now is coming from diplomatic pacts. Interesting. A lot of that is Swedish war reparations and Finnish puppet. Okay. Well, that's reasonably fine. We do know that we have these guys down over here that we wouldn't mind. What are they currently? They are currently puppets. Okay, so they just don't have much in terms of economy. That's fine. So this is under our control now. Dagestan is being incorporated. Okay. And there's very little devastation there right now. So that's fine. We'll definitely get that under control. Now I want to go into Circassia, and we want to return state here. So this is going to give us 3 total infamy. We'll force the diplomatic play. And I'm still going to send this kind of small army down over here. There we go. And we'll see if anybody decides to join them on this one. We have no war goals to add. We're going to get everything we can. The only people who can is Britain, the Ottomans, and Ukraine. I don't think any of them are going to join. So that'll be great. We are currently at 26.5 infamy. By the time we finish this diplomatic play, I'm expecting our infamy to certainly be below 25. So that'll be solid. We'll definitely let that infamy continue to drop. So that's all looking good. We have this enact laissez-faire political movement, and I'd love to do it. We're on traditionalism right now, and traditionalism isn't great, but the Gentry Assembly is a bit of a problem. It's probably a doable thing fairly soon. So we'd like... out of curiosity here. Okay, that does not have any boosts of power to the Gentry Assembly. Noted. We definitely do want to go on to something other than traditionalism. Laissez-faire would be decent. The Gentry Assembly are very opposed to it, and it looks like the Gentry Assembly are opposed to everything other than traditionalism. That is reasonably fine. We could take a look at the Gentry Assembly here. Their current leader is a traditionalist. We would need to remove them from the government to exile this guy. Him being a traditionalist is pretty bad for us. There's no doubt about that. So if we were to remove them from the government, we'd be at like 18. This is not that much radicalism, though. 27 for armed forces. Well, it puts us into unacceptable government, but we can do this temporarily. Like that. Then we can go into the Gentry Assembly and we can exile this guy. Now, they're not going to be very happy about this, but we can do that. And now this next guy is a royalist. I like it. That is a significant change for us. Now what we can do is we can reform the government and we can put the Gentry Assembly back in. Beautiful. Now we can come into traditionalism, and they're still very upset about this. So that does get us a... Oh, this war is broken out. So that does get us a different leader of the Gentry Assembly, right? But they're still extraordinarily opposed to this. And this would still radicalize them. It would also radicalize the rural folk, which we probably don't want to do at this exact moment. But I do feel like getting that traditionalist out of there puts us in a better position moving forward. Unfortunately, the Gentry Assembly still has... Let's see, paternalistic is here. Strongly endorse traditionalism from paternalistic. Okay. So the paternalistic is the problem at this point. That said, most of this is not too bad. The question is, how can we get rid of this paternalistic ideology? So, I think we would have to get an event for that, is my theory anyway. I'm pretty sure. For now, we're just going to continue forward, and we're going to conquer down over here. We're just doing Russia things, conquering things, and, you know, neglecting our standard of living. Standard Russian things for this period. I like it. So we're just going to attack Circassia here. This should be a very easy battle. Yeah, that should be fully under our control, and they're going to give up very, very shortly here. Have we fully occupied this? No, but we occupied a lot of it. Cool. That all looks good. We're making a decent amount of money still. And eventually... Oh, interesting. The Gentry Assembly endorses tenant farmers now. That's very interesting. They still strongly endorse laissez-faire due to their ideology. But that leader is going to be a little easier for us to work with. So that is good. But there's currently not too much going on in terms of our laws. That said, we've got a righteous government right now, and our number of loyalists is going up faster than our number of radicals. So that sounds absolutely great. Circassia is going to fall here very shortly. And we'll get that conquered. And I would like to take over, like, these areas down over here as well. That would basically bring us back to where we were at the end of Europa, and that would be great. But for now, that's going to have to be a bit of a medium-term project, right? We are down to a reputable infamy, which is great. And it'll take some time for Circassia to give up here. We're going to have returned Circassia be our peace deal. They have 286 reasons to not accept this, but they're going to lose a lot of war support very quickly because we have them fully occupied at this point. So they'll give up on that fairly soon. It is, however, time to tie railways. Well, okay then. So we're just going to hop into our buildings real quick, and we're going to get rail transportation. Now, this is going to be low productivity because we're going to have low amounts of transportation. That is definitely understood, but this will change. Yes, I'm aware of all of this. I'm aware that you'll have low throughput because of it. We will get that fixed. Okay, the price of transportation is going to be absolutely insane here at the beginning, but that's fine. We don't mind that. I'm not going to go to public trams at this time. We can change that later on, but I do want to hop over to railways, sort by infrastructure. First things first, one in Moscow and one in Chukotka. That'll be fine. And this is 20 infrastructure each, so that is all we should need for the time being. Now, we have no active research at this time. I kind of want to hop over to military here and maybe go for Shell guns, perhaps? Or even percussion caps. We could go for percussion cap. That'll be fine. Okay, now, as I was saying, it is time to put a cut in here, although I'm just noticing we can bump up our education, and we absolutely want to do that. That'll give our Orthodox Church more political strength, and that's fine. We don't mind that. It is time to put a cut in here, though, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we are probably going to launch an attack on Lithuania, is the theory. Our infamy is at 23.9, so I think that'll probably be a good idea. But we're not quite there yet. We should actually begin damaging relations with them, though. There we go. We'll drop those relations down, and our infamy will continue to drop. Once we get below, like, maybe 20? I don't know. How much is this going to be? We don't have a claim in Lithuania, so it's going to be 24.6 to conquer the state. That's quite a bit. Not to mention Belarus might join, so we'll have to think about that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.